Morning television was meant to be soft, friendly, and cheerful. Laughter over coffee, celebrity smiles, and questions that never cut too deep. But on this day, when Meghan Markle stepped onto the This Morning sofa across from Allison Hammond and Dermot O'Leary, the calm routine shattered in seconds. Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure you hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments what you think really caused Meghan Markle to completely lose it on live television. At first glance, it looked like any other interview. The studio gleamed under soft lights, the London skyline shimmered in the background, and the host smiled with practiced ease. Yet behind those smiles, something electric buzzed, a tension that no one could name just yet. As the familiar This Morning theme music faded, sunlight poured through the wide studio windows, glinting off the glossy coffee table lined with flowers. Alison Hammond's booming laugh kicked things off, full of energy and charm. "Good morning, everyone," she cheered. "Today we have a very special guest, actress, activist, and former Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle." Polite applause filled the studio as Meghan entered. Her walk was graceful, controlled, deliberate, every movement carefully measured. Her smile was perfect, maybe too perfect, like it had been practiced 100 times in the mirror. Allison rose from her seat with open arms for a friendly hug, but Meghan extended only a hand. The gesture was small but sharp, slicing through the room's easy energy. The air shifted. "Welcome to This Morning, Meghan," Dermot said warmly, motioning to the sofa. "Thank you," Meghan replied, her tone crisp and cool. "It's always interesting to be here." Allison's laugh bubbled out, a little forced this time. "We're so thrilled to have you," she said brightly, trying to reset the mood. "Now you've been busy. New projects, appearances, headlines. Tell us, what's going on?" Meghan's smile thinned. "What's going on," she said, "is purpose. Focus. Using my voice to elevate conversations beyond gossip. That's what matters." Her words landed heavy, polished, pointed, and slightly barbed. Dermot nodded smoothly, his calm professionalism kicking in. "And your upcoming project, can you share a little about that with our viewers?" "Of course," Meghan replied, crossing one leg over the other. Her posture screamed confidence. "It's about truth, about giving people a chance to tell their stories without being edited into caricatures. Something I know quite a bit about." A faint ripple of laughter broke through the audience, half supportive, half uneasy. Allison caught it instantly, but pushed on, still smiling. "That's wonderful," she said, her tone honey-sweet. "But of course, people are also curious. Life away from the UK, your new home, family balance. Are you happy?" Meghan's lips curved again, but the warmth didn't reach her eyes. "Happiness isn't a gift, Allison," she said coolly. "It's a decision, and I've made mine." Soft applause followed. The atmosphere felt tight, polite but stiff. Dermot, ever the peacemaker, shuffled his cue cards. "And Prince Harry, you've both been working on separate projects. How's that partnership balancing out?" Meghan's gaze flicked toward Allison, sharp as glass. "You don't ask working men how they balance things with their wives, Allison," she said. "We both have schedules. We manage. It's not that complicated." The warmth drained from the room. Allison's laugh came out light, but uneasy. "Fair enough," she said, her smile tightening. "But people adore you both together, and just wonder how you juggle it all, especially with the kids." Meghan leaned slightly forward. "We juggle privately," she said firmly. "My children aren't morning show material." The crowd murmured softly. The tension was growing, subtle, but there. Dermot jumped in, trying to rescue the mood. "Let's pivot a little," he said quickly. "There have been reports, fair or not, about negotiations for your Netflix series. Some say you asked for more money for the new season. What's your response?" Meghan gave a short, dry laugh. "When a man demands fair value, he's a visionary. When a woman does, she's greedy. I don't chase pennies, Dermot. I command worth." A small round of applause broke out, scattered, hesitant. Allison raised her eyebrows, keeping her smile plastered on. "Strong answer," she said, her tone playful but strained. And of course, people can't forget your comments on the monarchy. You've called it outdated in the past. Do you still feel the same way? Meghan crossed her legs slowly, her posture turning icy. Tradition doesn't equal righteousness, she said sharply. Centuries of history don't erase harm. I don't romanticize institutions that wound. The studio went still. You could hear the sound of breathing through the microphones. Allison exhaled softly, her trademark laugh replaced with a forced smile. Dermot adjusted his tie, his voice carefully steady. Well, he said with an awkward chuckle, that's certainly something for people to think about. But everyone in the room knew. This was just the beginning. Behind the cameras, producers exchanged tense glances. Something about this interview was slipping away from them. Dermot cleared his throat, attempting to regain control. Let's dig into your creative side, Meghan, he said with a polite smile. Viewers are fascinated by your storytelling. Do you see yourself moving more toward documentaries, scripted series, or perhaps writing? Meghan gave him a slow smile. I don't box myself into category, she said. I create. Whether that scares the industry or not, that's their problem. Her voice was velvet, smooth but condescending. Allison clapped her hands once, a little too cheerfully. That's very empowering, she said. But of course, with storytelling comes responsibility. Some critics have said your work is, well, heavily focused on your personal journey. Do you feel that's fair? Meghan tilted her head, her gaze narrowing. When men make films about their trauma, they win Oscars. When women do it, we're called narcissists. Maybe the problem isn't my storytelling, Allison. Maybe it's society's bias. The audience fell quiet, the tension now thick enough to touch. Allison's smile wavered. Her hands clasped tightly in her lap. I'm only asking what people wonder, Meghan, she said softly, then changing tone. And speaking of personal journeys, how's Harry? He's such a beloved figure here in the UK. People miss him. Meghan's eyes darkened. Harry doesn't belong to anyone, Allison, she said coldly. He's not a souvenir Britain gets to miss like a lost postcard. He's a man, my husband, and he's thriving without constant tabloid intrusion. Even Dermot looked startled. Of course, he said quickly. And the children, Archie and Lilibet, our viewers often ask how they're settling into life away from the palace spotlight. For the first time, Meghan's smile disappeared completely. My children are not for public consumption, she said sharply. The world doesn't get to demand progress reports on them, as though they're reality show contestants. Allison nodded slowly, her voice quieter now. Of course, we respect that, she said carefully. Still, families watching at home often relate to seeing public figures balance parenting. It inspires them. Meghan let out a soft laugh, cold and humorless. Then perhaps families at home should focus on their own children, instead of obsessing over mine. The audience gasped. The air in the studio dropped a few degrees. Allison's trademark laughter was gone, replaced by a stunned silence. Dermot raised a hand, his tone careful. Let's move on. But everyone knew. The interview had just turned into something far bigger. The control room was a storm of whispers. Producers leaned over their consoles, trading anxious looks. What was supposed to be a cheerful morning chat had turned into something no one could stop watching. Dermot took a deep breath, his voice steady but tight. Let's talk about your creative projects, Meghan, he said. You've spoken about truth and storytelling. What inspires you most? Meghan's lips curved into a knowing smile. What inspires me, she said smoothly, is the freedom to speak without being edited to fit someone else's agenda. Her tone was calm, but her words cut deep. Allison's fingers drummed against her cue cards. She could feel the tension pressing down on the room. Still, she tried to bring it back. And with that freedom, she said lightly, comes a lot of attention, not all of it kind. How do you handle the criticism? Meghan looked right at her. I don't handle it, she said plainly. I rise above it. The audience murmured, sensing something sharp in her tone. Allison forced a polite smile. "Of course," she said quickly. "But some critics say—" Meghan interrupted. "Critics don't pay my bills, Allison." That was the first real blow. The air seemed to tighten. Allison blinked, her smile faltering for the first time. Dermot shifted in his seat, his hand tightening around his cards. "Well," he said softly, trying to diffuse it, "that's one way to look at it." Meghan leaned back, her posture relaxed, but her eyes glinting. "It's the only way to look at it," she said. Allison took a deep breath, her trademark charm cracking just a little. "You've mentioned truth a lot today," she said carefully. "But some people say your version of truth can sound selective. Do you understand why people might feel that way?" Meghan's expression froze. Then she laughed, short, sharp, and joyless. "Selective," she repeated. "When men tell their stories, it's courage. When women do it, it's manipulation. Maybe people just don't like it when the truth doesn't flatter them." Gasps rippled through the studio. Dermot gave a nervous chuckle, glancing at the camera crew. "Well," he said, "this has certainly become a very honest conversation." But Allison wasn't laughing anymore. Her voice was steady, but her eyes flashed. "Honesty is good," she said. "But kindness matters too. Do you ever worry that the way you speak, so direct, so strong, might come across as dismissive?" Meghan didn't even blink. "No," she said flatly. "I'm not responsible for how people choose to hear me." The silence that followed was deafening. Allison pressed her lips together. "Some might say that's a little harsh. Some might say women are too emotional," Meghan replied coldly. "I don't live my life to please other people's expectations." The audience murmured again, a mix of discomfort and fascination. Dermot, now visibly tense, tried to step in. "Meghan, you've always spoken about empowerment. How do you define that word for yourself?" "Empowerment," Meghan said softly, "is not apologizing for who you are. Ever." Her words hung heavy in the air, bold, almost defiant. Allison nodded, her voice calm but her body language tight. "That's a strong message," she said. "But let's be real, Meghan. Some people feel that your empowerment sometimes sounds like entitlement. What would you say to that?" Meghan's eyes narrowed slightly. "People mistake confidence for arrogance when they're not used to women having power," she said. Allison leaned back slightly, folding her arms. "Or maybe," she said evenly, "people just don't like being talked down to." The audience reacted instantly, a wave of gasps and murmurs. Dermot gave an uneasy laugh, glancing off stage as if searching for a cue to cut to break. Let's steer this somewhere lighter," he said quickly. "Your Netflix projects, for instance." But Meghan wasn't done. "Lighter?" she said, her tone sharp. "Why should we pretend everything's light when it isn't? That's the problem with this kind of show. It wants smiles, not substance." Allison's eyes hardened. "This kind of show," she echoed slowly. "You mean the one that gave you this platform today?" The audience's attention was locked. You could feel every heartbeat in the room. Meghan's chin lifted. "I mean the kind of show that wants women to smile through disrespect." That was it. The line that split the room. Dermot shifted in his chair, clearly unsettled. "All right, we'll take a quick—" But Allison's voice cut through him, calm but charged. "Respect goes both ways, Meghan." The two women stared at each other. The tension was electric. Dermot cleared his throat. We'll go to a break." But no one moved. Not the audience, not the cameras, not even Meghan. Meghan leaned forward, her tone cool and slow. "I didn't come here for small talk, Allison. And I didn't invite you here to be insulted," Allison fired back, her voice low and steady. The studio audience gasped again, the sound echoing off the set walls. Dermot raised his hands, desperate now. "Let's all just take a moment." But it was too late. The mask of morning TV politeness had completely fallen away. The camera zoomed slightly, catching the icy stare between the two women, one calm and condescending, the other fiery and unflinching. For a heartbeat, no one breathed. And then Meghan broke the silence. "You know," she said, her voice dripping with controlled anger, "this is exactly why I left. The constant need to play nice for people who refuse to see me clearly." Allison's reply was sharp. "No one's asking you to play nice, Meghan. We're asking you to be real." The audience applauded, short, uncertain claps that sounded more like shock than support. Dermot quickly gestured toward the control room. "We're cutting to break. Now." The cameras faded to black, but everyone in that studio knew. The real drama was only beginning. The commercial break was barely a minute long, but it felt endless inside the studio. Crew members whispered frantically, producers gestured behind the cameras, and Allison sat frozen, her jaw tight. Across from her, Meghan sipped water calmly, her expression unreadable, a woman fully aware of the storm she had just helped create. When the red light on the camera blinked back on, Dermot forced his best, practiced smile. "Welcome back to This Morning," he said, voice steady but strained. "We've been having a very candid conversation with Meghan Markle about her projects and experiences." He turned slightly toward her. "Meghan, let's try to focus on something positive. You've often spoken about empowerment. What message would you like to leave with viewers today?" Meghan smiled, that same perfect, deliberate smile. "The message," she began, "is simple. Stop expecting women like me to constantly explain ourselves. Stop demanding gratitude for circumstances that came with as much pain as privilege. I don't owe anyone my silence." The words hung in the air like thunder. Some audience members clapped. Others sat frozen, unsure if they should. Allison exhaled, shaking her head slightly. Her voice, when it came, was controlled but firm. "No one's asking for your silence, Meghan," she said slowly. "But the way you've handled yourself today, dismissing questions, belittling people, that's not strength. That's arrogance." The audience gasped. Meghan blinked, her polite mask cracking just a little. "Arrogance?" she said sharply. "Allison, maybe you should consider that my refusal to bow to petty criticism is called confidence, something you're clearly not used to seeing in women like me." A collective gasp rippled through the studio. Allison froze. Her eyes widened for a moment, then narrowed into something fierce. Her voice dropped low, dangerously calm. "Don't you dare, Meghan. Don't twist this into some story about people being threatened by your strength. I've built my career lifting women up, all kinds of women. But what I won't support is rudeness, entitlement, and a complete lack of respect." Dermot immediately raised his hands, trying to break the tension. "Ladies, please." But Allison wasn't stopping now. Her words were sharp and clear. "You say you hate the monarchy, Meghan. You say it destroyed you. But let's be honest, you wouldn't even be here if you hadn't married into it. The book deals, the Netflix shows, the headlines, all of it came from that royal connection. You used it when it suited you, then spat on it when it didn't." The studio audience erupted. Gasps, whispers, even a few claps. Meghan's face turned rigid, her jaw tight. "How dare you?" she hissed. "My marriage is about love, Allison. My life is mine. And if I choose to share my truth, that's my right." Allison leaned forward, her eyes blazing. "Love? Then why does it always look like you're cashing in on it? Prince Harry was respected, admired, before all this circus. Now he's a background player in your brand. You talk about independence, but every door you've walked through was opened by him. Admit it. You've leaned on his fame and milked it dry." The words hit like gunfire. The audience gasped again, louder this time. A mix of shock and disbelief. Some clapped, others covered their mouths. Dermot's composure cracked. Okay, let's calm this down." But Meghan snapped back, her voice cutting through the noise like glass. "I will not sit here and be accused of exploiting my own husband on national television. This is a disgrace, an ambush." Allison didn't flinch. "No, Meghan," she said firmly. "This isn't an ambush. This is accountability. Since the moment you sat down, You've looked down on everyone here. Every question was beneath you. Every answer was a lecture. You say you want truth? Then here it is. You can't keep playing the victim while living in a mansion and lecturing the world about oppression. The audience gasped again. This time a few people clapped outright. Meghan stood up slightly, her voice trembling with fury. You don't get to speak to me like that. Allison's tone was sharp, commanding. Then maybe you shouldn't come on a live show if you can't handle real questions. Dermot was pale now, his hand raised toward the control booth. We need to cut. But no one moved. Allison leaned in, her voice fierce. You know what's beneath me, Meghan? Watching you sneer at everyone who dares to question you. You act like you're too important for the show, too important for this country. But let me remind you, this audience gave you a platform long before Hollywood wanted you back. The room erupted. The tension was electric, alive. Meghan's face burned red, her composure slipping. If the British public expected me to bow forever for their approval, they picked the wrong woman, she said coldly. I'll never apologize for refusing to be silent. Not for you, not for anyone. Allison straightened, her tone steady but trembling with emotion. Then maybe this interview should end right here, because I won't sit here and watch you treat people like they're beneath you. Dermot spoke quickly, his voice almost pleading. Let's take another short break. But Allison didn't move her eyes from Meghan. No need for a break. She's made herself clear. The studio was silent. You could feel hearts racing across the room. Meghan stood up, unclipping her microphone with shaking hands. The wire tangled, and she yanked it free with a sharp tug. Her voice cracked with fury. You'll regret this. The world will see how you treated me today. Allison's reply was calm but final. The world just saw exactly how you treated everyone else. Meghan's heels clacked across the floor, each step echoing like a drumbeat. The studio door swung open, and she stormed out, her head high, her anger burning behind her eyes. The doors closed with a hard thud. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Dermot turned to the camera, his face pale. We'll be right back after the break, he said quietly. But Allison didn't wait. She looked straight into the camera, her voice soft, sincere, and heavy with emotion. To everyone watching at home, she said, I want to apologize. That wasn't the conversation we hoped for. Sometimes live television doesn't go as planned, but what you just saw was real. And maybe that's what makes it matter. The audience broke into applause, loud, emotional, and full of support. Dermot nodded slightly, his voice low. We'll be back soon. The screen faded to black, but the story was far from over. By that afternoon, social media would be on fire. Hashtags, headlines, replays of every glare, every word, every insult. And by the end of the day, this morning had made TV history. Not for laughter or gossip, but for one of the most explosive interviews ever broadcast live.